Suwałki. That narrow strip of land wedged between Kaliningrad and Belarus. Vladimir Putin believed this region was a linchpin capable of bringing down the entire European security architecture overnight. According to a plan that had been sitting on the Kremlin's desk for years, the moment this critical corridor was severed, NATO would be split in two, and the Baltic allies would be completely cut off from the mainland and thrust into darkness. That is precisely why they had been testing the pulse of that region for months, with stray missiles and kamikaze drones pushing the boundaries. However, the hunter found itself trapped right in the middle of the strategic encirclement it had initiated. The governments in Warsaw and Tallinn, having calculated very well where the barrels would turn if the Ukrainian front were to break, took that historic step that fundamentally changed the rules of the game. Poland's defense giant Polska Group and Estonia's tech powerhouse Frankenberg joined forces to put an unprecedented contract on the table. At the heart of this agreement lies the hardware, none other than the ultra-short-range Mark I interceptor system, designed to shatter the mechanical invasion in the sky. We will soon discuss how this small-caliber rocket will transform the entire Baltic border into an impenetrable wall of doom. But the real revolution lies in the economic dimension of the matter. PGZ President Adam Leszkiewicz stated this clearly. The lessons learned from the war in Ukraine clearly show that using expensive systems against mass attacks carried out by cheap but dangerous drones makes no sense, neither operationally nor economically. This sentence may seem simple, but in fact, it sums up the collapse of the entire modern war economy. The attacking side strikes with cheap weapons, the defending side responds with expensive weapons, and over time, ammunition stocks dwindle and budgets collapse. Mark I was designed to break this deadlock. It enables cheap, rapid production and easy restocking. When you look at the missile's technical specifications, you see destructive power inversely proportional to its size. Weight, under 2 kilograms. Length, 660 millimeters. Diameter, just 60 millimeters. But inside this tiny body lies a solid fuel rocket motor, a speed capability exceeding 1,000 kilometers per hour, and a fire-and-forget guidance system with an electro-optical seeker. Its range extends up to 2 kilometers, and its altitude up to 1.5 kilometers. It carries a half-kilogram high-explosive fragmentation warhead. It detonates upon approaching the target via a proximity fuse. If it misses, it self-destructs using an automatic self-destruction system. It locks onto the target in daylight and low-light conditions and does not let go. But the truly revolutionary part is the price. The targeted unit cost is approximately $40,000 to $50,000. That's 1/10 the cost of a Stinger missile. Russia will launch a Shahed, Poland will shoot it down with the Mark I, and the cost will be only 2 or 3 times the cost of that drone. For the first time, the economic equation will shift in favor of the defending side. And this missile isn't a prototype assembled in a garage. It was designed for mass production using commercial off-the-shelf components. It went from concept to live-fire testing in just 13 months. Given the traditional sluggishness of the defense industry, this speed is almost unheard of. A factory with an annual production capacity of up to 10,000 units is now being built on Polish soil. This production capacity completely eliminates the fear of stock shortages. Moreover, the EU's €150 billion Safe Defense Fund is supporting this project. Poland will receive a significant share of this fund, and the Mark I production line will be bolstered with that money. But we haven't reached the most critical layer of the story yet. Because Mark I is just the beginning. The agreement also lays the groundwork for the development of Mark II. Mark II's range will increase to 5 to 8 kilometers. This is a leap forward that will strengthen the middle layer of the layered air defense system. Poland will use Mark I at the lowest level to intercept low-cost drones and loitering munitions. In the next tier, Mark II will counter larger and faster threats. And at the very top, heavy systems like Patriot and NASAMS will be reserved solely for cruise missiles and fighter jets. So what exactly lies at the heart of this unprecedented industrial collaboration? Russia's borderless attacks and violations of red lines form the foundation of this collaboration. For example, on September 9th to 10th, 2025, a massive swarm of Russian drones, numbering between 19 and 23, crossed the border. Both before and after this major swarm attack in September, there were drone incursions of varying sizes. The Kremlin was testing NATO's patience by using cheap Shahed drones, gauging the air defense reaction times of Poland and the Baltic states. However, Putin's test backfired on him. While Poland is building a ground-based defense wall, a completely different revolution is unfolding high above in the sky. Lockheed Martin has officially announced that Poland's first F-35A Lightning II fighter jets will be delivered this summer. These fifth-generation stealth fighter jets, known as Hussars in Poland, will begin arriving at the 32nd Tactical Air Base in Lask starting in May 2026. The base was certified for F-35 operations as of March 2026. The first two aircraft will arrive in May, and the third in early July. The total order is for 32 aircraft, representing a deal worth approximately $4.6 billion. The first 8 aircraft will remain in the US for training purposes. Starting with the 9th aircraft, deliveries will be made directly to Poland. The remaining aircraft will arrive gradually between 2027 and 2030 and will form 2 separate squadrons, one at Lask and the other at Swidwin. This announcement coincided with Polish President Karol Nawrocki's visit to the F-35 production center in Fort Worth, Texas, on March 27th to 28th. This timing is no coincidence. Warsaw is sending a single message to the world. Poland is no longer just a strong army on paper, it is a genuine fifth-generation power. To understand what the F-35A means, one need only look at its capabilities. It can detect and strike targets from over 200 kilometers away. It reaches speeds of Mach 1.6. It has an internal fuel range of 2,200 kilometers and a weapons capacity of up to 8 tons. In the TR-3 configuration, it even carries an AI-supported target recognition system. But perhaps that isn't its most critical feature. The F-35 shares real-time data with other F-35s within NATO. When an F-35 in the Netherlands detects a threat over Poland, the F-35 in Poland knows about it immediately. This isn't just a single aircraft. It's part of a massive, interconnected combat network. Poland's decision to retire its Soviet-era MiG-29 and Su-22 fleet and transition to the F-35 goes far beyond a mere technological upgrade. It represents a complete rewriting of the balance of air superiority on NATO's eastern flank. An F-35 can lock onto its targets long before Russian Su-35s even spot it. It can even sneak into the range of S-400 batteries, the heart of Russian air defense systems, and strike them. This is a capability that changes the rules of the game on the battlefield. And with countries like Germany, Finland, and the Czech Republic also acquiring the F-35, a steel curtain of stealth fighter jets is descending over Eastern Europe. But Poland is also building a wall on the ground, and the latest layer of this wall was announced on March 28th. The Polish Ministry of the Interior and Administration announced that border controls at the German and Lithuanian borders have been extended for another 6 months, from April 5th to October 1st. This marks the 4th extension of the temporary controls that began in July 2025. An extraordinary situation in the heart of the Schengen area, where the principle of free movement has been suspended. Vehicles are being randomly selected and searched at approximately 50 crossing points on the German border and approximately 13 on the Lithuanian border. This includes forest roads and natural crossing points known as green borders. It is not only border guards who are conducting the checks. Polish police and soldiers from the Territorial Defense Forces are also active participants in the operation. The official justification is combating illegal migration and ensuring internal security. But the real picture is much darker. Belarus and Russia continue to use migrants as weapons. People brought from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia are being piled up at the Belarusian border and pushed into Poland, and from there into Western Europe. In the first 8 months of 2025 alone, nearly 25,000 attempts at illegal entry were recorded at the Belarus-Poland border. Organized human trafficking networks are active along the Baltic-Poland-Western Europe corridor. Poland explicitly characterizes this situation as a hybrid attack. And rightly so, because the migrant wave is not a natural disaster, but a destabilization operation deliberately orchestrated by the Kremlin and Minsk. The objective is clear: to drain Poland's resources, create divisions in domestic politics, and fracture the EU's unity. But Warsaw has not fallen for this ploy. On the contrary, It has integrated the hybrid attack into its conventional defense planning. Coordination between border guards, police, and regional defense units is being carried out with the precision of a military operation. Border defense doesn't stop there. Warsaw has also closed its airspace along the eastern border. No aircraft can fly below 3,000 meters in the region stretching along the Ukraine-Belarus border. The restrictions are in effect from March 10th to June 9th. The logic behind this decision is brutally simple. Throughout 2025, Russian-made Gerbera drones, surveillance balloons, and stray missiles entered Polish airspace. These were deliberate provocations by Putin to test radars and measure response times. When you ban flights, the equation simplifies. You no longer have to analyze whether the signal appearing on your radar is a civilian glider or a Russian kamikaze drone. Everything on the radar now becomes a target. This is exactly where I want to make a point. If you want to follow this kind of strategic analysis and the behind-the-scenes developments of global events, now is the perfect time to subscribe to the TGN channel. Because what we're about to discuss is the story of how all these moves fit into a single, larger picture, and how the Baltic region has been turned into an impassable trap. Poland has increased its defense spending to 4.8% of GDP. That's higher than all NATO allies, including the US. It's rapidly increasing its troop count from 100,000 to 300,000. The inventory has been expanded to include 250 state-of-the-art Abrams M1A2 tanks, 1,000 K2 Black Panther tanks from South Korea, hundreds of HIMARS and Chunmoo multiple rocket launchers, Apache attack helicopters, and Patriot air defense batteries. The $2.5 billion Eastern Shield project along the eastern border is being reinforced with anti-tank trenches, concrete bunkers, and AI-supported sensors along a 700-kilometer stretch. HIMARS rocket systems have their barrels directly aimed at Belarus and Kaliningrad. As part of the Safe Podlasie operation, tens of thousands of fully equipped soldiers are on duty along the border. A new €2 billion anti-drone system is becoming operational. And perhaps the most shocking step, Poland officially withdrew from the Ottawa Convention in February 2026. This means anti-personnel mines will be laid along the borders. A country's withdrawal from an international disarmament treaty is the clearest indicator of the scale of the perceived threat. Now put the Mark I missile, the F-35 fleet, the airspace restrictions, the 700-kilometer defense line, the mines, and the 300,000-strong army all side by side. The resulting picture is not a defense strategy, but the construction of an impregnable fortress. But Poland is not building this fortress alone. And this is where the full scope of the story unfolds. Estonia is constructing a massive Baltic defense line, 30 kilometers deep along its border. It has raised its 2026 defense budget to 5% of GDP, an almost unheard-of ratio for a European country. It is purchasing next-generation HIMARS systems, extending mandatory military service to 2 years, and aiming to expand its reserve forces to the strength of a division. The Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service's 2026 report lays out the military doctrine very clearly. Zero tolerance for Russia's unmanned systems. No object crossing the border will be warned. It will be struck immediately. And the strategic importance of the Mark I missile is precisely where it solidifies. When Estonia's zero-tolerance doctrine is combined with the 10,000 Mark I missiles to be produced in Poland, an immense picture emerges. Across NATO's eastern flank, spanning the geography from Estonia to Poland, an electronic and kinetic wall is being erected that Russian drones cannot penetrate. This barrier is fueled not by expensive missiles, but by cheap, mass-produced fire-and-forget rockets. And the stockpiles never run out, because the production line in Poland turns out new ones every day. Looking at Latvia, the picture is even more stark. The Latvian government has officially approved a plan to completely destroy all border roads and railways leading to Russia, should the threat escalate. They are prepared to blow up their own infrastructure to ensure not a single paved road remains through which Russian tanks could advance. A country willing to turn its own territory into scorched earth. In history, decisions like this are made only when states perceive their very existence to be in danger. There is nothing behind this decision but the instinct for survival. Lithuania, however, has already taken the most extreme step. Explosives have been placed on critical bridges along the Belarus border. Strategic transit points have effectively been mined. And on Lithuanian soil, The largest German military buildup outside its own borders since World War II is now in place. A fully equipped German battalion is there to defend that narrow Lithuanian border. Now is the time to step back and put all these pieces together. Poland has established a 700-kilometer defense line on the ground, an F-35 fleet in the air, a layered Mark I and Mark II air defense system, mines and checkpoints along its borders, and no-fly zones in its airspace. Estonia holds the northern flank with a 30-kilometer defense line and a zero-tolerance doctrine. Latvia is ready to blow up its roads. Lithuania has mined its bridges and is locked in with German armor. The picture is very clear. The Baltics are no longer weak targets. They are a trap, locked together, armed, and ready to explode. The warning from Mark Kansian, a senior analyst at the Washington-based think tank CSIS, resonates precisely at this point. According to Kansian, Poland's aggressive rearmament and border-closing moves are perceived in Moscow not as defense, but as direct preparations for an attack. This perception provides the Kremlin with a perfect pretext, especially given today's global context. In the Middle East, the regional war expanding daily within the US-Israel-Iran triangle is drawing American resources and attention there. In the Pacific, China is ramping up pressure through military exercises targeting Taiwan. Washington's attention has never been so scattered. American military resources have never been so divided. Could Putin seize this chaos as an opportunity to make a move on the Suwałki corridor or directly into Poland? This is where the wall of reality comes into play. Putin's army has suffered massive losses in the quagmire of Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands of dead and wounded. A significant portion of its modern tanks has been reduced to scrap. Today, Russia can only replace its frontline losses by working around the clock in factories. According to German intelligence reports, it will take at least until 2029 for Russia to rebuild its army to a level capable of fighting NATO. This detail changes everything. Unlike Ukraine, Poland is located right at the heart of NATO. It is a fortress with a massive budget and equipped with modern weapons. Regardless of what happens in the Middle East or the Pacific, Poland is a NATO member. There are currently over 8,000 American troops stationed in Poland. Thousands of American tanks and armored vehicles are on standby at the massive base in Powidz. A direct Russian attack on Polish territory would mean a clash not only with Poland, but also with those American troops. This would automatically trigger NATO's Article 5. Poland's standing F-35 fleets and HIMARS batteries have the capability to destroy any Russian armored brigade before it even crosses the border. Such a decision by the Russian leader would not only spell the end of his army, but also the direct end of his regime. And Putin is too attached to his power to risk such an outcome. This content was prepared by TGN. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like the video. Your comments serve as our compass. Please be sure to share your thoughts. In the next video, we'll bring you even more critical developments. Stay tuned to TGN.